Hey, good morning. So, what a beautiful day out today. The weather's finally warm and the sun's out. So, I was reading the news yesterday and I read this article in the New York Times, it was in the Daily Sun, about Orthodox Jews donating blood plasma, those who had COVID. And it was a fascinating article because, as you know, the community that I come from was hit quite hard by COVID, and many people unfortunately lost their lives, but thank God many recovered. And you know that many people are asking to donate your test if you have antibodies, and if you have antibodies, to donate your blood plasma to help cure other patients. And although it hasn't been scientifically proven yet, there's a lot of data for that, and that's what's being done all over. So the Orthodox community has rallied in tremendous ways, and 50% of all those donating blood plasma are Orthodox Jews. Hasidic Jews, a lot of them. Now, granted that the Hasidic Jews got hit more than others, but not 50%. And in fact, it's so fascinating that Hasidic Jews have been traveling to Delaware and to Philadelphia from New York, because in New York, there's no room, there's nowhere to get a place to donate blood plasma because it's so busy. So they've been traveling all the way to Delaware and to Philadelphia. And in fact, many rabbis have told them that if their only appointment they have to donate blood plasma is on Shabbos, then they should go on Shabbos. These are observant Jews that would never get in the car on Shabbos. They should go on Shabbos and donate their blood because they could save a life. A life of who? A life of someone they've never met. Might not be Jewish, might not be the same ethnicity as them, might not be the same class of wealth, of intelligence. They don't know who, but they're donating. They're driving 3-4 hours each way and waiting to donate their blood to save another life. And this inspired me because it's moving. There's been a lot of critical articles about the Orthodox community, about the funeral, etc. And now it's nice to see something positive, but it really inspired me to something in this week's Torah portion. Let me tell you a story. Reb Hillel Paracha was one of the greatest Chassidic students of the second and third Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he was the rabbi of a city, Bobroisk, which was in Russia. Well, he really wanted to meet the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, who was the Alter Rebbe, the founder of the Chabad movement. But every time he came to the city, he had just missed him. He had come and the Rebbe had left. He had come and the Rebbe had left. And he would travel from city to city trying to meet this fascinating luminary who changed the Jewish world, but he had no luck. Finally, one time he said, enough is enough. And he found out that the Alter Rebbe was going to be in a city. And he went to that city. He found the hotel room that the Alter Rebbe was going to be in the inn. And he got into the room and he hid under the bed. He says, you know what? The Alter Rebbe is going to come in and I'm going to go and I'm going to jump out of the bed and finally I'm going to catch him. And he prepared himself. He was studying the tractate of Talmud called Erchin. Erchin is when you evaluate the value of a life. Let me explain you what's going on. I go and I say, you know what? I am going to donate the value of Governor Baker to the Holy Temple. Or I'm going to donate the value of Bill Gates to the Holy Temple. Or Joe the plumber. How do you know what the value is? So in this week's Torah portion, the Torah gives us the value that you have to donate if you commit it. So there's a whole tractate in the Talmud. Now, Reb Hillel Paracha was studying this, and he said the moment he's going to see the Alter Rebbe come into the room, he's going to jump out, and he's going to ask him his question. Well, guess what? He gets into the room, he's under the bed, and suddenly the door opens, the Alter Rebbe comes in. And before the Alter Rebbe could even jump out of the bed, he hears the Alter Rebbe say that if someone has a question in the tractate of Erchin, of evaluating a life, a human life, then he should first evaluate himself. Reb Hillel Paracha hears this, he faints. He's out, the Alter Rebbe leaves. He never meets the Alter Rebbe passes away. The only verse he ever heard from the Alter Rebbe, the only line was, if someone has a question in evaluating souls, he should first evaluate himself. That changed his life. Yet he never got to meet the Alter Rebbe. In one of the Rebbe's talks, our Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Rebbe tried to give sense to this story. What's going on here? What was wrong with his question? And why, just because he had a question in evaluating his soul, does he have to evaluate himself? Does that make him bad? What was the Alter Rebbe's message to him, and how did that change his life? And the Rebbe said, this is the thing. You see, in this week's Torah portion, we're going to read about evaluating the life, as I told you. But the question is like this: how could the Torah, other than age and gender, go cross-board and say that if I say I'm donating the value of Bill Gates or Joe the plumber, it's the same value? How could that be? How can you go cross-board between someone who's the status of what they've gifted to society, the status of what they've accomplished, the status of who their character is, and say, no, doesn't make a difference? If you say you're going to donate to the temple the value of a 30-year-old male, doesn't make a difference who, anyone in the world, Jew, Gentile, slave, servant, doesn't make a difference. Cross-board, you have to give the same amount. How could the Torah let us do that? And the answer, of course, is because the Torah is telling us that there's an intrinsic value in every Jewish soul, in every soul, period, in every human being. Every human being has intrinsic value that can't be measured by what they've contributed, so to speak, to society. It can't be measured by how intelligent they are, how wealthy they are, how famous they are. Doesn't the Torah tell us in Deuteronomy, you all stand in front of me, your leaders, your elders, your water carriers, your wood choppers, everyone is the same. There is no one person that has more intrinsic value in the gift of life. And now we can understand what the Alter Rebbe was telling Reb Hillel Parashat. The Rebbe says, if someone really questions the value of life, of Erchin, and says, 1 second, why this? I have a question in it. Then really the one who has to be evaluated is him. How can it be that I think that there might be more value in me than the other person? Something is missing in me. If I truly think and look into myself, then I'll understand that really we're all equal. And that if I really think and look into myself and say, wait, if God gave someone else the talents he gave me, if he gave him the wealth, if he was born into the family that I was born into, the society, the city, the country, whatever it may be, what would he have accomplished? There's an intrinsic value to each human being. There's an intrinsic value to each soul that is across the board. That's the message the Torah is telling us. And that's what the Alter Rebbe was telling Reb Hillel Parashat. The one line he ever heard from him in his life was, listen, if there is ever a question about the value of another human being, you got to look at yourself, because we're all equal. You know, there were many days in the last century, in the 19th century, but one of the most consequential days was June 6th, 1944. June 6th, 1944 was when 20,000 plus American forces stormed the shores of Normandy. And although that didn't end World War II, if not for that, the war would never be won. It's coming up soon, June 6th. It's a fascinating day. But let me tell you a story. There was this family, 4 brothers. They were called the Nyland brothers. I think one was Rob, one was Preston, one was Fritz, they called him. His name was Frederick. And what was the 4th one's name I saw was Edward. All 4 of them went to Normandy. June 6th, Bob was killed by the Nazis. June 7th, Bob's brother, Preston, was killed by the Nazis. And 2 weeks earlier, on May 16, their brother, Edward, was captured by the Japanese and taken into captivity. He was taken as a POW. Well, when word got back to America that 3 of the brothers were killed or captured, Sergeant Frederick was called back to America, because how could one mother lose 4 kids? They asked them to be brought back, and Fritz came back to America. And for many years he thought he lost all his 3 brothers, not knowing that Edward was a POW who was released from captivity in 1945. This was a very inspiring story, which turned Steven Spielberg, another Yiddish boy, into making a movie out of it. It was called Saving Private Ryan. And in the movie, Private Ryan is in the war with his 3 brothers in Normandy, and 3 of his brothers get killed. And when word gets back to President Eisenhower that Private Ryan lost his 3 brothers, President Eisenhower sends a message that he wants Fritz, who was Private Ryan in this movie, Private Ryan brought back home. How are they going to find Private Ryan? He's fighting in Normandy. So they send a group of 8 expertise soldiers with their captain to go find Private Ryan. Well, guess what? There's a debate between these 8 people. The 8 soldiers are saying, 1 second, why is his blood redder than ours? Why are we risking our lives to find this guy? Don't we also have mothers? Don't we also have families? And yes, granted, Private Ryan lost his 3 brothers, but we also have families. We also have mothers. And the captain tried to tell them, listen, this is an order we're following, and this is what we got to do, and that's it. And here they are risking their lives. And come on, when you risk your lives, order shmorta, there's got to be also a just cause. And it's constantly debated. And then they have the first casualty, the first fatality. 1 of the 8 get killed. And even Captain Ryan, even the captain starts questioning, what am I doing here? What am I risking my life and 7 other people, 1 already lost, to what? To save a person because he lost his 3 brothers? And in order to justify what he was doing, Private Ryan, the captain, starts thinking to himself, maybe this Private Ryan, he's gonna find a cure for cancer. Maybe this Private Ryan, he's going to invent a light bulb that lasts forever. Maybe he meant the LED light bulb, or maybe something else. This guy's gonna change the world. But 1 second, is that how we value life? So suddenly, if Private Ryan is going to cure cancer, so that's why his life is worth more than others? And this debate rages on, and they lose more soldiers and more. They end up losing 6 out of 8, only 2 survive. The last one to die in the movie is the captain himself. And as he's dying, he looks at Private Ryan, or I think maybe he looks up and he says to him, earn it, which is basically saying that we gave up 6 people, lost their life for you. You better make it worthwhile. Earn it and earn it. Well, Private Ryan gets saved. He comes back to America. He gets married. He has a family. And later in life, he's a grandfather. He goes back to Normandy to visit the grave of the captain. And as he's at the grave, he's sobbing. And he turns to the captain and he says, listen. He says, no, I didn't cure cancer. No, I didn't invent the light bulb. I went back home and I became a farmer and I raised a family and I did the best that I could do. I lived the best life that I could live. And he falls down sobbing on the captain's grave and he looks at his wife and he says, did I earn it? Did I earn it? Did I live a life worth saving? And that's how it stops. And it leaves each and every one of us with the imagination and the thought and the pondering. 1 second. Are we each living a life that's worth saving? Are we each earning our life, our value, our gift that God gave us to be able to breathe and live and get up every day and breathe fresh air and smell the beautiful roses and live the gorgeous life that we do? That's what it leaves us with. That's what takes me back to Erchin. You know what Erchin tells us in this week's Torah portion? That yes, the captain in Steven Spielberg's movie, I know he's a Jew, says that maybe if you cure cancer or you invent a light bulb, then you're worth it, then you earned your life to lose 6 others. But in the view of the Torah of Judaism, Erchin is a value to every life. Every single human being that lives has value. There is no one more than the other. And that's why the Torah gives a value across the board that's equal, no matter who and what you've accomplished. And that's what the Alter Rebbe was telling Hillel Paritcher. If we don't see the value in every human being, that God gifted them life, that God gave them a soul, then we have to evaluate ourselves. And my friends, that's the reason why so many Hasidic Jews are leaving the comforts of their home after they were so sick with COVID and traveling 3, 4, 5 hours, waiting in a hospital for another few hours to donate their blood, their plasma, to save another soul, not knowing who they might be, not knowing if they'll be Jewish or Gentile, black or white, Republican or Democrat, wealthy or poor, PhD or not even a graduate of college, because they have been gifted what the Torah has taught us in this week's parsha, that every human life is the greatest. Earn it, you earn it by just as Private Ryan living the best life you could. It might be being a farmer and raising a family with honesty. It might be being a rabbi, it might be being a doctor, it might be being an accountant, a lawyer, it might be Joe the plumber, it might be Warren Buffett, it might be Bill Gates, or it might just be a regular Joe Schmo. My friends, there isn't a greater gift that the Torah gives us. Let's earn it. Let's live the best we could. Let's respect, let's evaluate every life and the dignity it has. And let's do everything we could to help another human being. Have a great day and see you tomorrow.